The band hit the chorus, and the room went still. In the middle of the floor, the maid in blue spun with two boys in bright red, boys with the billionaire's grin and the same stubborn chin. The bride's bouquet trembled. "Let's dance, Mommy," one twin said into the mic. The other squeezed the maid's hand. "Or we'll do it for you." Silence tightened like a noose. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get started. Is Daddy really marrying her today? 7-year-old Ethan whispered, his small fingers tugging at his red bow tie. Jasmine Williams knelt in front of him, her blue uniform crisp against her light brown skin. Her gentle hands straightened the crooked bow tie, lingering a moment too long on his cheek. "Yes, sweetie," she answered softly. "In just a few hours." Around them, Maxwell Anderson's oceanfront mansion in East Hampton buzzed with activity. Florists arranged white roses in crystal vases. Caterers bustled through the massive kitchen. Outside, workers transformed the sprawling backyard into an elegant wedding venue overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. "I don't like Victoria," Ethan's identical twin brother Noah declared, walking into the bedroom. "She always smells like that stinky perfume and pinches my cheeks too hard." Jasmine stood, smoothing her uniform. At 29 years old, she moved with quiet dignity despite her position as the head housemaid. "Mr. Anderson loves Miss Hammond very much," she said carefully, "and she's going to be your new stepmother." Noah frowned, his brown eyes, identical to Jasmine's, flashing with defiance. He deliberately lifted his glass of grape juice and spilled it down the front of his crisp white shirt and red vest. "Noah!" Jasmine gasped, but there was no real anger in her voice. "We need to clean you up before the ceremony." "Oops," Noah said without a trace of remorse. "I guess you'll have to help me change." Jasmine led Noah toward the bathroom, grabbing a clean shirt from his closet. Once inside, with the door closed, Noah's demeanor changed. "Do I really have to call her Mom?" he asked, voice trembling. Jasmine's professional mask slipped for a moment as she knelt to his level. "No, sweetheart. You can call her Victoria or Mrs. Anderson. She won't be your mom. She'll be your stepmother." "Because you're our real mom," Ethan stated, having followed them into the bathroom. Jasmine glanced quickly at the closed door before whispering, "Yes." "But remember our special secret? Outside this room, I'm just Miss Williams, who helps take care of the house." What the 200 wedding guests gathering downstairs didn't know, what Victoria Hammond herself didn't know, was that Jasmine was the twins' biological mother. 8 years ago, she and Maxwell had a brief relationship that ended shortly after she became pregnant. With his powerful legal team, Maxwell had won full custody of the boys and then offered Jasmine a position as his housemaid. The arrangement allowed her to remain close to her children, though only as the help, sealed with a non-disclosure agreement and financial compensation. "I don't want a new mom," Noah mumbled as Jasmine helped him into a clean shirt. "I know," Jasmine whispered, blinking rapidly to clear the moisture from her eyes, "but your father has made his choice. We need to respect that." A sharp knock on the door made Jasmine jump back, immediately resuming her professional demeanor. "Everything okay in there?" came the crisp voice of Eleanor Anderson, Maxwell's mother. "Yes, Mrs. Anderson. Just cleaning up a small spill." "The boys will be ready momentarily," Jasmine called back, her voice shifting to a more formal tone. Eleanor opened the door without waiting for permission. At 68 years old, she exuded Boston Brahmin superiority from her perfectly coiffed silver hair to her expensive pearl necklace. "The photographer wants pictures of the boys in 15 minutes, and Maxwell is asking for them," Eleanor said, her gaze sweeping over Jasmine with barely concealed disdain. "Once they're ready, please return to your duties with the other staff. The wedding coordinator needs assistance with the table settings." "Of course, Mrs. Anderson." Eleanor turned to leave, but paused. "And Jasmine? Make sure you stay out of the photographs today. The wedding planner has specific instructions about staff placement during the ceremony and reception." After she left, Noah stuck his tongue out at the closed door. Jasmine gently put her finger to her lips, silently reminding him to behave. Across the mansion in the East Wing, 30-year-old Maxwell Anderson stood at the window of his study, watching guests arrive in luxury vehicles. His tall, lean frame was perfectly fitted in a custom black tuxedo, his brown hair showing distinguished touches of gray at the temples despite his young age. "Maxwell?" Jason Miller, his college roommate and best man, entered with 2 whiskey glasses. "Pre-wedding drink?" Maxwell took the glass without turning. "Thanks. Everything going smoothly?" "Like clockwork. Victoria looks stunning. The boys are getting ready. Your empire awaits its queen," Jason said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Speaking of the boys, I just saw them with Jasmine. They seem very attached to her." Maxwell sipped his whiskey before answering. "She's been with us since they were born. Children get attached to household staff." "Right," Jason replied slowly. "Staff." In the main guest bathroom, Stephanie Carter, Victoria's maid of honor, was helping the bride with a final makeup touch-up. "In just 1 hour, you'll be Mrs. Maxwell Anderson," Stephanie gushed. "Not just gaining a billionaire husband, but becoming mom to those adorable twin boys. They really need a mother's touch." Victoria Hammond smiled at her reflection. At 28, she was strikingly beautiful with blonde hair cascading down her back in perfect curls. Her designer wedding gown had cost more than most people's annual salary. "The boys are darlings, though they're still warming up to me," Victoria admitted. "That maid seems to have quite an influence on them." "The one in the blue uniform? I noticed that too," Stephanie said, almost like they listened to her more than anyone else. As the wedding hour approached, Jasmine helped the twins into their positions as ring-bearers. She knelt one last time to straighten Noah's new, clean shirt. "Remember what we practiced," she said softly. "Walk slowly. Hold the pillow carefully." "I wish you could walk with us," Ethan whispered. "I'll be watching from the back," Jasmine promised. "I'm always watching over you both." The wedding planner, Lisa Thompson, rounded the corner and stopped abruptly at the sight before her. Jasmine embracing both boys in what appeared far too intimate for an employee-child interaction. More striking was the identical shade of their expressive brown eyes. When Jasmine noticed her watching, she quickly stepped back, resuming her professional stance. "The ceremony starts in 10 minutes, Lisa announced. "I need the ring-bearers by the garden entrance." As Jasmine guided the boys away, Lisa pulled aside Catherine Hammond, Victoria's mother. "Mrs. Hammond, have you noticed how close the maid is with Mr. Anderson's sons?" Lisa whispered. "And their eyes. They're identical. Striking resemblance, don't you think?" Catherine's perfectly arched eyebrows rose slightly. "What are you suggesting?" "Nothing specific," Lisa backtracked. "Just an observation." As the string quartet began playing, guests took their seats in the garden. Richard Anderson, Maxwell's father, approached Jasmine as she was adjusting flowers near the back row. "The help should remain invisible during the ceremony," he said coldly. "Please join the other staff inside until it's time for service." Jasmine nodded respectfully. "Yes, Mr. Anderson." She watched from the kitchen window as the wedding party took their places. Maxwell stood tall at the altar, looking confident and successful. Victoria appeared from the house on her father's arm, radiant in white. The twins walked ahead, carrying the rings, their little faces solemn. Only Jasmine noticed how Ethan's eyes kept darting toward the house, searching for her. Only she saw Noah's fingers clutching the ring pillow so tightly his knuckles turned white. And only she felt the physical ache of watching another woman prepare to become the official mother to her biological children. Catherine Hammond leaned toward Victoria just before they began their procession down the aisle. Her voice was barely audible as she whispered, "That maid seems unusually close to Maxwell's boys. There's something he's not telling you." Victoria's smile faltered for just a moment before she composed herself, clutched her bouquet tighter, and stepped forward as the wedding march began. Victoria's smile wavered as her mother's words sank in. She took a deep breath and began her walk down the aisle. The guests rose from their white chairs, turning to watch her glide across the perfectly manicured lawn of Maxwell's oceanfront estate. At the altar, Maxwell Anderson stood tall in his black tuxedo, his face a mask of confidence. His eyes moved from Victoria to his twin sons, who fidgeted uncomfortably beside him. Ethan kept looking back toward the house while Noah stared at his shoes. From her position at the back, hidden behind the kitchen door, Jasmine watched the ceremony unfold. Her fingers gripped the doorframe as she saw her biological children standing next to the man who had taken them from her, about to welcome another woman as their mother. "Dearly beloved," the officiant began, "we are gathered here today to join Maxwell and Victoria in marriage." Throughout the vows, the twins shifted restlessly. When the time came to present the rings, Ethan stepped forward with visible reluctance. His small hands trembled as he held out the satin pillow to his father. "Thank you, son," Maxwell said, reaching for the ring. At that moment, Ethan's fingers loosened. The platinum band wobbled on the pillow. Several guests gasped as the ring teetered on the edge before Maxwell quickly caught it. "Careful there, buddy," he whispered to Ethan, a tight smile on his face. The rest of the ceremony proceeded without incident. As the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Eleanor and Richard Anderson nodded approvingly from the front row. The perfect society match was complete. At the reception, Victoria made repeated attempts to connect with her new stepsons. "Would you like more cake, Noah?" she asked, sliding a plate toward him. "No, thank you," Noah answered without looking up. "Ethan, do you want to dance with me later?" Victoria tried again. "I'm tired," Ethan replied, his eyes following Jasmine as she served champagne across the room. Victoria's smile remained fixed, but her eyes reflected her confusion. She had spent months trying to bond with the boys, but they remained distant. As the evening progressed, Jason Miller found Maxwell alone near the bar. "Congratulations again," Jason said, clinking glasses with his old college roommate. "Victoria seems perfect." "She is," Maxwell agreed. "The right background, the right connections. The Hammonds are exactly the kind of family we need to be associated with." Jason lowered his voice. "Max, I've wanted to ask you something for years. Those boys. They look just like Jasmine." Maxwell's face hardened. "This isn't the time or place, Jason." "When is the time? I was there when you met her at that tech conference. I saw how you were together before the twins. Then suddenly she's working as your maid while raising your—" "It's complicated," Maxwell interrupted. "Victoria comes from the kind of family that matters in our world. This marriage, secures our position." "Did you just call your wedding a merger?" Jason asked. Maxwell sipped his champagne. "You know what I mean." Across the reception tent, Stephanie Carter, Victoria's maid of honor, tapped her glass to begin her speech. "I've known Victoria since our days at Brearley School," Stephanie began. "She's always been the perfect daughter, friend, and now wife. But I'm most excited to see her take on her newest role as mother to those adorable boys who've been missing maternal guidance for so long." At the children's table, Ethan and Noah exchanged looks. Without a word, Noah slipped from his chair and disappeared behind the catering tent. Ethan stayed put, creating a distraction by loudly asking for more juice. Noah found Jasmine arranging dessert plates in the service area. "Noah, you shouldn't be back here," Jasmine whispered, quickly checking if anyone had seen him. "I hate this," Noah said, his lower lip trembling. "Why can't you tell everyone you're our mom?" Jasmine knelt down, keeping her voice low. "We've talked about this, sweetie. Your father and I have an agreement." "But it's not fair!" Noah's voice rose slightly. "Life isn't always fair," Jasmine said, gently brushing his hair from his forehead. "But I promised to always be in your life, even if I can't be called mom to the outside world." "She's never going to be our mom," Noah declared. "Never, ever." Jasmine hugged him quickly, forgetting for a moment that they might be seen. "You need to go back to your table now. We can't— What is going on here?" Catherine Hammond's sharp voice cut through their conversation. Jasmine immediately stood, putting professional distance between herself and Noah. "Mrs. Hammond, I was just directing Noah back to his seat," Jasmine explained. Catherine's eyes narrowed. "That's not what it looked like to me." There was inappropriate familiarity with the child. "I was just— You are staff," Catherine interrupted coldly. "Not family. Remember your place." Noah's face flushed with anger. "Don't talk to her like that." "Noah," Jasmine warned quietly. Catherine looked between them, suspicion growing in her eyes. "Return to your seat immediately, young man. And you," she turned to Jasmine, "should focus on your duties instead of developing improper attachments to your employer's children." As Catherine led Noah away, Ethan watched from behind a nearby table. His small face hardened with resolve as he saw his brother being pulled away from their real mother. The reception continued into the evening, with Victoria becoming increasingly aware that something wasn't right. She watched as the twins lit up whenever Jasmine entered their field of vision, only to retreat into silence when she approached them. When the band announced the first dance for the newlyweds, Victoria caught Maxwell's arm before they could step onto the dance floor. "Maxwell, we need to talk," she said firmly. "Now?" "We're about to have our first dance," Maxwell replied, glancing at the waiting guests. "It can't wait," Victoria insisted, leading him to a quiet corner of the tent. Her mother's words from earlier echoed in her mind, along with all the strange interactions she'd witnessed throughout the day. Victoria took a deep breath and looked directly into her new husband's eyes. "Who is Jasmine to your sons, Maxwell?" she asked. "And don't lie to me on our wedding day." Maxwell's carefully constructed expression faltered. For the first time that day, genuine emotion flashed across his face. Panic. Maxwell cleared his throat, quickly recovering his composure. He led Victoria further away from the dance floor, where guests were beginning to wonder about the delay in their first dance. "Jasmine was their nanny when they were infants," Maxwell explained, his voice steady. "She's been with our household since they were born. That's why they're attached to her." Victoria studied her new husband's face. "A nanny? Then why is she working as a maid now?" "She preferred it. Less responsibility. The boys just never stopped seeing her as a caretaker," Maxwell said smoothly. "It's perfectly normal for children to bond with household staff who've been present their entire lives." Victoria's shoulders relaxed slightly. "That makes sense. I was worried there was something more complicated." "Nothing complicated at all," Maxwell assured her, taking her hand. "Now, I believe they're waiting for us to have our first dance." As they walked to the dance floor, Maxwell caught his mother's eye and gave a slight nod. Eleanor Anderson understood immediately, crisis averted. But across the tent, Jason Miller watched with concern, and the twins exchanged knowing glances. For the remainder of the reception, Maxwell kept Jasmine assigned to kitchen duty, minimizing her interactions with the twins and Victoria. This plan backfired when Ethan threw a tantrum during the cake cutting. "I want Miss Williams!" he shouted, refusing to stand for photos. Maxwell knelt beside his son, whispering firmly, "Ethan, that's enough. Miss Williams is working. I don't care. I want her now." Ethan's voice grew louder, causing guests to turn and stare. Victoria stepped in, attempting to soothe him. "Ethan, sweetie, would you like some cake instead?" "No, I want Miss Williams." Eventually, Jasmine had to be called from the kitchen. She appeared in her blue uniform, professionally composed. "Ethan, what's the matter?" she asked quietly. Instantly, Ethan calmed down. "I just wanted to make sure you were still here." "Of course I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere," Jasmine assured him, careful to maintain professional distance with Victoria watching. The next morning, in their new family reality, Victoria came downstairs early to prepare breakfast for the twins. She wanted to start their life together on the right foot. "Good morning, boys," she said cheerfully as Ethan and Noah entered the kitchen, still in their pajamas. "I made pancakes." The twins sat at the table silently. "Did you sleep well?" Victoria tried again, placing plates in front of them. "Yes," Noah answered without looking up. "These pancakes look delicious," Jasmine commented as she entered the kitchen in her uniform. Immediately, both boys perked up. "Good morning, Miss Williams," they said in unison. Victoria noticed the change in their demeanor but continued smiling. "Jasmine, would you like some coffee?" "Thank you, Mrs. Anderson," Jasmine replied formally. Maxwell entered, already dressed in a business suit. He kissed Victoria's cheek quickly before grabbing a travel mug of coffee. "I have to leave for Seattle in an hour. That tech acquisition can't wait," he announced. "I'll be gone for 3 days." Victoria's smile faltered. "You're leaving? We just got married yesterday." "Business doesn't stop for personal milestones," Maxwell replied. "You'll be fine." The household runs itself and Jasmine knows all the routines with the boys. After Maxwell left, Victoria decided to take charge of her new role. "Boys, how about we go shopping today? You can help me pick some decorations for your rooms." Noah looked at Ethan before asking, "Can Miss Williams come too?" Victoria hesitated before answering. "She has duties here at the house." "Then we don't want to go," Ethan declared. After 15 minutes of negotiation, Victoria relented. "Fine, Jasmine can come along to help carry packages." At the upscale children's store in East Hampton, Victoria watched as the twins constantly sought Jasmine's opinion on everything. "Miss Williams, do you like the blue or the green?" Noah asked, holding up 2 shirts. "The blue matches your eyes," Jasmine replied, then caught herself. "But it's Mrs. Anderson's decision." "I like the blue too," Victoria agreed, trying to connect. "Noah, would you like to try it on?" "Only if Miss Williams helps me," Noah insisted. Victoria's patience was wearing thin. "Jasmine, could you wait outside with the packages we've already bought? I'd like to help Noah myself." Left alone with Victoria in the dressing room, Noah became uncooperative. "The shirt is too tight. I don't like it." "It fits perfectly," Victoria said. "Miss Williams would know if it fits right," Noah muttered. That evening, while the twins were playing in their room, Victoria explored the house that was now her home. In the twins' bedroom, she noticed a book sticking out from under Ethan's pillow. Curious, she opened it and discovered a photograph hidden inside. The photo showed a younger Jasmine holding 2 newborn babies, her face radiant with love. Victoria stared at the image, noticing for the first time how the twins' eyes were identical to Jasmine's. Disturbed, Victoria began searching online for information about when Jasmine started working for Maxwell. She discovered an article about Maxwell Anderson's rising tech company from 7 years ago that mentioned his recently born twin sons and his new household staff. The timing aligned perfectly with the twins' birth. Over the next 2 days, tensions in the household grew. Victoria attempted to establish routines and boundaries, but the twins defied her at every turn. "It's time for your bath," Victoria said on the second night. "We take showers now." "Miss Williams knows that," Ethan replied. "Miss Williams said we could watch one more show," Noah claimed when Victoria tried to enforce bedtime. Yet whenever Jasmine gave them instructions, they obeyed immediately. On the 3rd day of Maxwell's absence, Jason Miller visited to drop off some documents. "Victoria, you're doing great with this transition," Jason said as they sat in the living room. "It can't be easy stepping into such a complicated situation." "Complicated how?" Victoria asked carefully. Jason seemed to realize he'd said too much. Just, becoming an instant mom to 7-year-olds. Victoria decided to push further. "Jason, you've known Maxwell a long time. Was Jasmine really just the twins' nanny?" Jason shifted uncomfortably. That's really Maxwell's story to tell. He already told me she was their nanny when they were babies, Victoria lied smoothly. I just wondered if there was more to it. Well, I'm glad he did the right thing financially for Jasmine after everything happened, Jason said, relaxing. Some men wouldn't have been so generous. Right, Victoria agreed, her suspicions growing. Maxwell has always been generous. After Jason left, Victoria sat alone in Maxwell's study, piecing together the information. The photo, the timing of Jasmine's employment, the twins' attachment, their identical eyes, Jason's comments about financial arrangements. The house phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. "Victoria, it's Eleanor Anderson," came her mother-in-law's voice. "Is Maxwell back yet?" "No, he returns tomorrow," Victoria replied. Eleanor sighed. "When he gets home, please have him call me immediately. This situation with Jasmine and the boys is becoming untenable. He needs to come clean before someone else does." After hanging up, Victoria returned to Maxwell's study. In his desk drawer, she found a folder labeled JW Agreement. Inside was a photo identical to the one the twins had hidden, along with legal documents. When Maxwell returned home the next day, Victoria waited for him in his study, the hidden baby photo on his desk. As he entered, she looked up with cold determination. Jasmine isn't just their former nanny, is she? She's their mother. Maxwell froze in the doorway, his eyes fixed on the photo. For several seconds, he said nothing. "Is this some kind of joke, Victoria?" he finally asked, his voice cold. Victoria pushed the folder toward him. "I found these in your desk. The agreement is quite clear." Maxwell slowly sat down across from her. He ran his hand through his hair, buying time to think. "It's not what it looks like," he began. "Stop lying to me," Victoria said. "The twins have her eyes. They're attached to her in a way that makes no sense for a maid. Jason mentioned you doing the right thing financially for Jasmine. Your mother called about coming clean. I'm not stupid, Maxwell." Maxwell's shoulders sagged slightly. "Fine. Yes, Jasmine and I had a brief relationship 8 years ago. She became pregnant. We agreed I would raise the boys." "Agreed?" Victoria pressed. "This looks more like you forced her." "That's not fair," Maxwell protested. "I offered her a generous arrangement. She gets to see the twins every day, plus financial security. Many women in her position wouldn't have that opportunity." Victoria stared at her husband. "Her position? You mean as the mother of your children who you demoted to maid? Who has to pretend not to be their mother? While I unknowingly stepped into her role?" "I was going to tell you," Maxwell said unconvincingly. "When? After we were married? After I became attached to the twins? After it was too late for me to back out?" Victoria stood up, anger rising in her voice. "You let me walk into this situation completely blind." Their argument was interrupted by a knock at the door. Eleanor Anderson stood there, elegant as always in her cashmere sweater and pearl necklace. "I heard raised voices," she said calmly. "I see Victoria has discovered the truth." "You knew?" Victoria turned to her mother-in-law in disbelief. "Everyone knew except me?" Eleanor entered the room and closed the door. "Of course I knew. They're my grandchildren. Richard and I didn't approve of how Maxwell handled the situation, but what's done is done." Over the next few days, an uneasy silence fell over the household. Victoria moved into one of the guest rooms, avoiding Maxwell when possible. The twins, sensing the tension, became even more determined to fix their family situation, but not in the way the adults expected. One afternoon, Ethan accidentally locked Maxwell and Jasmine in the pool house together while they were checking on equipment for an upcoming party. "Ethan!" Maxwell called, rattling the door handle. "Open this door right now! I can't find the key!" Ethan shouted back, though the key was safely in his pocket. "I'll go get help." Maxwell turned to Jasmine, who stood awkwardly by the windows. "He's lying. They're up to something." "They want their family together," Jasmine said quietly. "The family they remember." "What do you mean, remember?" Maxwell asked. "They were babies when we made our arrangement." Jasmine looked at him directly. "They were 18 months old, Maxwell. Old enough to remember their mother. They've always known. They just couldn't say it." From the main house, Victoria watched the scene unfold. She saw how Ethan deliberately turned the key in the lock, then pretended to search for it. She noticed Noah stationed nearby, keeping watch. The boys were clearly trying to push their father and biological mother together. That evening, Victoria called her mother. "The entire marriage is built on a lie," Victoria said, her voice breaking. "I can't believe I didn't see it." "Darling, this is salvageable," Catherine Hammond replied. "Many society marriages have complicated foundations. The question is whether you want to stay and make it work." "I don't know anymore," Victoria admitted. "The boys will never accept me as their mother, not when their real one serves them breakfast every morning." "Perhaps you should look into the legal records," Catherine suggested. "If Maxwell won custody through the courts, there must be documentation beyond what he's shown you." The next day, Victoria received an unexpected invitation for tea with Eleanor Anderson at her Beacon Hill home in Boston. "I wanted to speak with you privately," Eleanor said as she poured tea into fine china cups. "About your situation." "You mean about how your son lied to me?" Victoria asked. Eleanor stirred her tea slowly. "The Andersons have maintained our social position for 5 generations, Victoria. Sometimes that requires managing uncomfortable truths. Is that what you call it?" "What I'm saying," Eleanor continued, "is that challenging Maxwell openly could damage more than just your marriage. It could impact your social standing, financial security, and future prospects. Think carefully before making any rash decisions." It was a warning, thinly veiled but clear. Meanwhile, Jasmine had begun packing her belongings in her small room off the kitchen. After 7 years of the painful arrangement, seeing Victoria's hurt and anger made her question everything. Perhaps it would be better for everyone if she simply disappeared. As she folded her uniforms into a suitcase, the door burst open. Ethan and Noah stood there, panic on their faces. "You're leaving?" Noah asked, his voice trembling. "You promised never to leave us," Ethan added. Jasmine knelt down to their level. "I'm just thinking about it. This situation is becoming very difficult for everyone." "Because of her?" Noah asked. "No," Jasmine corrected him. "Victoria is not the problem. She didn't know about me either." The twins looked at each other, communicating silently as they often did. "If you go, we'll run away," Ethan declared. "We'll find you." "You can't leave," Noah insisted, tears filling his eyes. "You're our mom." Their words pierced Jasmine's heart. "It's not that simple, boys." The situation at school added another layer of complexity. When forms came home requesting emergency contact information, the twins created a scene in their classroom. "Why can't I put Miss Williams as my contact?" Noah demanded loudly. "Because she's not your parent or guardian," his teacher, Mrs. Bennett, explained patiently. "But she's my mother," Noah shouted, causing the entire class to turn and stare. The school called Maxwell immediately. That weekend, Jason Miller visited again, staying for dinner and having too many glasses of wine. Victoria found herself alone with him on the patio afterward. "Jason, did Jasmine actually agree to give up her children?" she asked directly. Jason, his inhibitions lowered by alcohol, shook his head. "Not at first. She fought hard. But Maxwell's lawyers were brutal, called her unfit because she couldn't provide the same lifestyle, threatened to destroy her if she didn't sign. It was ugly." "So she didn't have a choice," Victoria said. "Maxwell can be ruthless when he wants something," Jason admitted. "I told him it was wrong, but..." He trailed off, realizing he'd said too much. The next day, Victoria met with a private investigator in New York City. Within 48 hours, he delivered court records showing how Maxwell's legal team had systematically destroyed Jasmine's character, threatened her family, and ultimately forced her to surrender custody rights. Victoria placed these documents on the dining table that evening. "You didn't tell me you destroyed her in court?" Victoria said as Maxwell entered for dinner. "You didn't mention threatening her family. You made it sound mutual." Maxwell's face hardened. "You had no right to investigate this. And you had no right to lie to me before I married you," Victoria shouted. Their voices carried through the house. In the upstairs hallway, the twins sat listening through the heating vent. "Dad lied to Victoria too," Noah whispered. "Everyone is mad because of the lies," Ethan agreed. In his study later that night, Maxwell made a phone call to his attorney. "I need you to check Jasmine's non-disclosure agreement," he said tensely. "Make sure it's still legally binding, and draft a similar one for Victoria just in case." "Planning for problems?" the lawyer asked. "Just protecting my interests," Maxwell replied. Unknown to Maxwell, the twins had developed their own plan. As they got ready for bed, they whispered together in Ethan's room. "If they won't fix this, we will," Noah said firmly. Ethan nodded. "Tomorrow night at Dad and Victoria's big charity gala. Everyone important will be there. And we'll make sure everyone knows the truth," Noah added, his young face set with determination. Morning light streamed through the East Hampton mansion as staff hurried to prepare for the charity gala. This event would host even more important people than the wedding. Politicians, celebrities, and business leaders would all be there. Plus, several news reporters would cover the event. Maxwell adjusted his tie in the master bedroom mirror. "We need to act normal tonight. This gala raises millions for children's education." "Act normal?" Victoria repeated, putting on her earrings. "While your secret ex-girlfriend serves drinks to people who think I'm the mother of her children." "Keep your voice down," Maxwell hissed. "The boys might hear you. They already know the truth." "Everyone knows except the people coming tonight," Victoria said. Maxwell turned to face her. Just get through this evening. We can discuss our situation tomorrow." Downstairs, Jasmine directed the catering staff. Despite the tension of the past few days, she remained professional, checking food trays and organizing serving stations. "The white wine goes on the left tables, red on the right," she instructed a server. The twins watched her from the doorway, whispering together. "Did you talk to Uncle Jason?" Noah asked his brother. Ethan nodded. "He's bringing his laptop for the slideshow. He thinks it's just pictures of Dad's charity stuff." "But we added our special pictures," Noah said with a smile. "Ethan? Noah, what are you doing in the kitchen?" Victoria appeared behind them, already dressed in her evening gown. The boys jumped. "Nothing," they said together. Victoria watched them hurry away, suspicion growing. They had been acting strangely all day, too well-behaved, too quiet. Maxwell entered the kitchen, frowning when he saw Jasmine organizing wine glasses. "I want you to stay in the kitchen tonight," he said firmly. "Don't come into the main rooms." Jasmine kept her eyes on her work. "Yes, Mr. Anderson." "I mean it, Jasmine. No interaction with the boys during the event. They'll be upstairs with the nanny after they make a brief appearance." "I understand." As Maxwell left, Victoria lingered, watching Jasmine. For the first time, she really looked at the woman who had given birth to the twins, the woman who had been forced to serve in her own children's home. "He shouldn't speak to you that way," Victoria said quietly. Jasmine looked up, surprised. "Mrs. Anderson?" Before Victoria could respond, Maxwell called for her from the hall. Jason Miller arrived early, carrying his laptop. "Got the presentation ready for the charity speech," he told Maxwell. "Just need to set up with the projector." "Perfect. We'll show it right after dinner," Maxwell replied. The twins immediately approached Jason. "Uncle Jason, can we see?" Ethan asked innocently. "Sure, kids." Jason opened his computer, showing them a slideshow titled "Anderson Foundation, Helping Children Succeed." "Looks boring," Noah said, winking at Ethan. "Can we hold the computer during your speech?" "I don't think that's a good idea," Jason started. "Please," Ethan begged. "Dad said we should be involved in charity." Jason ruffled Ethan's hair. "Well, I guess it can't hurt. But no touching any buttons until I tell you." "We promise," the twins said together, their fingers crossed behind their backs. By 7 o'clock, guests began arriving. Maxwell and Victoria greeted them at the door, smiling as if nothing was wrong. The twins stood nearby in matching suits, unusually quiet and polite. "They're behaving so well tonight," a guest commented to Victoria. "You must be a wonderful influence." Victoria's smile faltered. "They're good boys." From the kitchen doorway, Jasmine watched the scene, her heart aching as her sons stood beside the woman everyone believed was their mother. Eleanor Anderson arrived, elegant as always. She observed Victoria's strained smile and approached her while Maxwell was busy with the mayor. "Victoria, dear, may I speak with you privately?" Eleanor asked. They stepped into Maxwell's study. Eleanor closed the door. "You've discovered the truth about Jasmine," Eleanor stated. Victoria nodded. "Did everyone know except me?" "Yes," Eleanor admitted. "Richard and I have known from the beginning. We didn't approve of Maxwell's relationship with Jasmine, a girl from Roxbury with no family connections. When she became pregnant, we supported Maxwell's decision to take custody." "How could you do that to her?" Victoria asked. "Family position matters in our world," Eleanor said simply. "But over the years, I've watched those boys lose their mother once. The way Maxwell handled it was unnecessarily cruel." Victoria stepped back. "So you all lied to me. Let me marry into this situation without knowing." "I'm sorry," Eleanor said, not sounding particularly sorry. "If it helps, I believe Maxwell truly cares for you." "It doesn't help," Victoria replied coldly. She left the study, needing a moment alone. The ballroom was filling with guests, the noise growing. Victoria slipped upstairs to the bedroom, closing the door behind her. While Victoria was upstairs, the twins saw their opportunity. Dinner had just ended, and Jason was preparing to give his presentation about the Anderson Foundation. "Let us help, Uncle Jason," Noah said, reaching for the laptop. "Well, I'm ready to start now anyway," Jason replied, handing it over. "Just open the file marked Charity Gala and press play when I introduce it." "We will," Ethan promised. But as soon as Jason walked to the microphone, the twins opened a different file, one they had created and hidden on the desktop. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jason announced to the room full of New York's elite, "the Anderson Foundation has supported children's education for 5 years. Please watch this short presentation about our work." Noah pressed play. The huge screen at the front of the ballroom lit up with the foundation logo. Then the slideshow began. The first few images showed Maxwell at charity events. Then the pictures changed. Suddenly there was a younger Maxwell with his arm around Jasmine at what appeared to be a tech conference. Next came a photo of a pregnant Jasmine standing in front of the East Hampton house. Then images of Jasmine holding newborn twins in a hospital bed, her face tired but joyful. Gasps spread through the crowd. Maxwell, who had been speaking with a senator, turned to see what was happening. His face went pale. More photos appeared. Jasmine feeding the twins as babies. Jasmine teaching them to walk. Jasmine blowing out candles on a birthday cake with the twins as toddlers. Then the final slide appeared. In childish handwriting it read, "This is our mom. Why does she have to pretend she's not?" "Turn it off!" Maxwell shouted, rushing toward the screen. Jason, realizing what had happened, quickly disconnected the laptop. But it was too late. Phones had already captured images. Journalists were taking notes. Guests were whispering to each other. "Who is that woman?" someone asked loudly. "That's their maid," another guest responded. "She's serving drinks in the kitchen right now." The twins stood proudly beside the screen, faces defiant. Maxwell grabbed the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, please excuse the technical error. Let's continue with the live auction portion of our evening." But no one was listening. All eyes turned toward the kitchen door where Jasmine now stood, frozen, a tray of champagne glasses in her hands. Behind her, the other staff members stared in shock. Victoria chose that moment to return downstairs. She paused at the entrance to the ballroom, taking in the scene: Maxwell's panic, the guests' shocked faces, the twins' defiant stance, and Jasmine's frozen form. "Mrs. Anderson!" A reporter approached Victoria, extending a microphone. "Did you know your husband's maid is actually the biological mother of his children?" Before Victoria could respond, another reporter pushed forward, this one headed straight for Jasmine. "Miss Williams, are you really the biological mother of the Anderson twins?" Jasmine stood still, the champagne tray shaking slightly in her hands. For 7 years, she had kept her silence, bound by legal documents and the desire to remain close to her children. Now, with all eyes on her and her son's message still displayed on the screen, the moment of truth had arrived. Jasmine stood frozen as cameras flashed around her. The champagne glasses on her tray clinked together as her hands trembled. "Yes," she finally said, her voice barely audible. "I am their mother." The chaos erupted in the ballroom. Guests grabbed their phones, reporters shouted questions, and Maxwell rushed toward Jasmine, his face twisted with anger. "Get back to the kitchen." "Now," he hissed, grabbing her arm. "Don't touch her," Noah shouted, running across the room with Ethan following close behind. The twins positioned themselves between Maxwell and Jasmine, their small bodies creating a barrier. "Everyone saw the pictures," Ethan said loudly. "They know the truth now." Security guards began ushering reporters toward the exit while Maxwell's public relations director, Sarah Chen, tried desperately to control the situation. "The Anderson family requests privacy during this time," Sarah announced to the crowd. "Mr. Anderson will issue a statement tomorrow." By midnight, most guests had left, whispering among themselves as they departed. Victoria had disappeared upstairs, refusing to speak to anyone. The twins had been sent to their rooms, though they showed no remorse for what they'd done. In the kitchen, Jasmine sat at the staff table, still wearing her uniform, staring at nothing. "You should go home," Eleanor Anderson said, entering the kitchen while the remaining staff cleaned up. "This is my home," Jasmine replied quietly. "My children are here." Eleanor sighed and sat across from her. What those boys did tonight was wrong, but perhaps necessary. Maxwell's handling of this situation has been less than honorable. "Why are you talking to me now?" Jasmine asked. "After 7 years of pretending I didn't exist?" "Because I've watched those boys suffer without their mother. Not physically, they have every material advantage. But emotionally. I was wrong to support Maxwell's decision," Eleanor admitted. "Too late, perhaps, but I want to help fix this." The next morning, the Anderson scandal dominated every news outlet. Photos from the twins' slideshow appeared on websites and morning shows. Outside the East Hampton estate, reporters camped at the gate hoping for a glimpse of the family. Inside, Maxwell paced his study while Sarah Chen reviewed their options. "We need to release a statement immediately," Sarah said, typing on her laptop. "I've drafted something acknowledging Ms. Williams is the biological mother, but emphasizing the arrangement was amicable and in the children's best interest." "Will anyone believe that?" Maxwell asked. "They might if we control the narrative. We'll say Jasmine wanted to remain close to the children but preferred a more structured arrangement. We'll present you as generous for providing employment." Maxwell nodded. "Send it out." In her bedroom, Victoria packed her suitcases. Her mother had called at 7 that morning, demanding she return to Manhattan immediately. "This scandal will destroy your reputation if you stay," Catherine had warned. A soft knock at the door interrupted Victoria's packing. She opened it to find the twins standing there looking uncertain. "Are you leaving?" Ethan asked. Victoria sighed. "Yes, I need some time away." "Because of what we did?" Noah's voice was small. "Partly," Victoria admitted, "but mostly because your father lied to me. I can't stay in a marriage that started with such a big lie." "We're sorry we ruined your party," Ethan said, "but not sorry everyone knows the truth now." Victoria knelt to their level. I understand why you did it. I just wish things had happened differently." By afternoon, Victoria had checked into her parents' Manhattan apartment. Her mother was already planning damage control. "We'll announce the annulment next week," Catherine said. "Make it clear you were an innocent party who knew nothing of this deception." "Mom, please," Victoria said tiredly. "I can't think about public statements right now." "You must," Catherine insisted. "The Hammonds have a reputation to protect." Meanwhile, Maxwell's statement had been released to the media. Maxwell Anderson confirms that Jasmine Williams is the biological mother of his 7-year-old twin sons. Their arrangement was agreed upon mutually to provide the children with stability while allowing Miss Williams to remain part of their lives. Mr. Anderson has always prioritized his children's well-being and requests privacy during this time. Jasmine read the statement on her phone in her small quarters off the kitchen. 7 years of silence, of watching another woman being prepared to mother her children, of serving meals to her own sons while pretending to be just the maid, all reduced to their arrangement was agreed upon mutually. For the first time, anger replaced her resignation. When a reporter from the New York Times called requesting her side of the story, she didn't hang up as Maxwell had always instructed. Instead, she agreed to meet. "Are you sure about this?" the reporter, Diane Foster, asked as they sat in a coffee shop in town. "Your employment contract probably has a confidentiality clause." "I'm sure," Jasmine said firmly. "I've been silent too long." In her interview, Jasmine told the truth, how Maxwell's lawyers had threatened her with endless legal battles if she fought for custody, how they'd claimed her modest background made her an unfit mother, how the generous arrangement had required her to pretend she wasn't the twins' mother. "I made a choice no mother should have to make," she told Diane. "Stay in their lives as the maid or disappear completely. I chose to stay, even though it broke my heart every day." While Jasmine's interview was still being written, Jason Miller visited Maxwell at the East Hampton house. "Your PR team is handling this all wrong," Jason said bluntly. "More press statements won't fix this." "What would you suggest?" Maxwell asked sarcastically. "Because my ex-girlfriend just gave an interview to the New York Times that will probably paint me as a monster." "Maybe because you acted like one," Jason replied. "Max, I've been your friend since college. I kept quiet when you took those kids from her. I watched you marry Victoria without telling her the truth. Enough is enough." "I did what was best for my sons." "Did you?" Jason challenged. "Because they just humiliated themselves and you in front of half of New York society to get their mother back. Does that seem like what was best for them?" The next day, Victoria returned briefly to collect more of her belongings. She was surprised to find Jasmine still working, vacuuming the hallway upstairs. "You're still here," Victoria stated. Jasmine turned off the vacuum. "I won't leave without my children." Instead of anger, Victoria felt an unexpected connection to this woman. Both of them had been manipulated by Maxwell's machinations. "We should talk," Victoria said, not as employer and employee, as two women who were lied to. They sat in the garden, away from the house. "Did you know he was planning to marry me?" Victoria asked. "Yes," Jasmine admitted. "I heard it from the other staff first. Then Maxwell confirmed it. And you said nothing." "What could I say? My agreement forbids me from revealing my relationship to the twins. I would have lost everything, the ability to see them at all." Victoria studied the woman across from her. "I was so angry at you at first. But now I see we're both victims in Maxwell's grand plan for the perfect family." 3 days later, Catherine Hammond requested a meeting with Jasmine. "I'll be direct," Catherine said when they met at her attorney's office. "This situation has embarrassed my daughter and our family. However, I recognize you've been wronged as well." "What do you want, Mrs. Hammond?" Jasmine asked cautiously. "To offer you a job," away from the Anderson household. Equal pay, better hours, working for one of our family businesses in Chicago. You could make a fresh start. Jasmine understood immediately. You want me gone so Victoria can return to Maxwell without complications. It would be better for everyone, Catherine suggested smoothly. Except my sons, Jasmine replied, standing to leave. Thank you for the offer, but no. That evening, the twins sat in Ethan's room, talking quietly. Dad still won't speak to us, Noah said sadly. And Victoria left, Ethan added. Maybe we shouldn't have shown those pictures. But now everyone knows Jasmine is our mom, Noah argued. That's what we wanted. I guess, Ethan said. I just didn't think everyone would be so mad. On social media, public opinion strongly favored Jasmine. # Justice for Jasmine was trending, with users condemning Maxwell's actions. Imagine forcing your children's mother to work as your maid for 7 years. Disgusting, one popular tweet read. Billionaire uses money and power to strip a woman of her children, then makes her serve his new wife? This isn't a fairy tale, it's abuse, another stated. Maxwell read these comments late at night in his study, a glass of whiskey in his hand. The carefully constructed world he had built was collapsing around him. His business partners were expressing concerns about the scandal affecting their investments. Victoria wasn't answering his calls. His sons were barely speaking to him. His phone rang, Jason calling. Have you seen the Times article? Jason asked. Not yet, Maxwell replied. You need to. And then you need to fix this, Max. Not with PR statements or legal threats. You need to actually fix what you broke. After hanging up, Maxwell stared at the family photos on his desk. The perfect family portrait taken at Christmas. Himself, the twins, the empty space where Victoria should have been, and in the background, barely visible, Jasmine setting down a tray of cookies, watching her biological children unwrap presents given by another woman. He picked up his phone and called his attorney. I need new papers drawn up by tomorrow morning, he said firmly. Not another NDA. Something different this time. Maxwell arrived at Jasmine's door at 5:30 in the morning, legal papers in hand. He knocked softly, not wanting to wake the twins down the hall. Jasmine opened the door, already dressed in her uniform despite the early hour. We need to talk, Maxwell said, his voice low. Jasmine stepped back, allowing him into her small room. About what? Maxwell held out the document folder. These are different papers. Not another non-disclosure agreement. These establish your legal rights as the twins' mother. Jasmine took the folder but didn't open it. Why should I believe you now? Because I've lost everything that matters, Maxwell admitted. My marriage, the respect of my children, my reputation. I can't fix everything, but I can fix what I did to you 8 years ago. Jasmine placed the folder on her small desk. I'll need my own lawyer to review these. Of course, Maxwell nodded. I expect you to. Later that morning, Jasmine received an unexpected call from Eleanor Anderson. I'd like to recommend my personal attorney, Patricia Winters, Eleanor said. She's excellent, especially in family law. I'll cover her fees. Jasmine hesitated. Why would you do that? Because I helped create this situation, Eleanor replied. It's time I helped fix it. Within 2 days, Jasmine sat across from Patricia Winters in a downtown Manhattan law office. The elegant attorney reviewed the documents carefully. These papers are legitimate, Patricia confirmed. They establish you as the legal mother with equal parental rights. There's a generous financial settlement for the past 7 years. No gag orders. No restrictions on your relationship with the children. What's the catch? Jasmine asked. Patricia smiled. I asked the same question. According to Maxwell's lawyer, there isn't one. He wants to make amends. Meanwhile, Victoria agreed to a single interview with Vogue magazine. She met the reporter at her parents' Manhattan apartment, dressed elegantly but simply. I entered my marriage completely unaware of the situation, Victoria explained. I was as shocked as everyone else to learn the truth. "Do you blame Jasmine Williams?" the reporter asked. "No," Victoria said firmly. "Jasmine was put in an impossible position. We were both manipulated in different ways." "Will you return to Maxwell Anderson?" Victoria shook her head. "Our marriage was built on a fundamental lie. I've filed for annulment." The article portrayed Victoria sympathetically, a woman deceived who handled her public humiliation with grace. This pleased Catherine Hammond immensely. "Perfect," Catherine told her daughter after reading the published piece. "You've emerged from this scandal with your reputation intact. Several eligible men have already inquired about meeting you." "Mother, please," Victoria sighed. "I'm not ready to think about dating again." Back at the East Hampton house, Maxwell faced serious business consequences. Several conservative investors had pulled out of his newest tech venture. "The publicity is too negative," his business partner explained during a tense video call. "Family values matter to our Midwestern investors." However, not all reactions were negative. Some female investors expressed approval of his efforts to make amends. "Finally taking responsibility is a good first step," one prominent venture capitalist told him. "How you handle this moving forward will determine whether we continue our partnership." The twins experienced mixed emotions about their actions. When they saw Jasmine and Maxwell sitting together at the kitchen table reviewing legal papers, they felt triumphant. But when they noticed the strain on everyone's faces, guilt crept in. "Did we do the right thing?" Noah asked Ethan as they watched from the doorway. "Yes," Ethan insisted, "but maybe we should have told them our plan first." Eleanor Anderson arrived one afternoon and called for a family meeting in the main living room. Maxwell, Jasmine, and the twins gathered awkwardly. "This situation requires new rules and boundaries," Eleanor announced. "The boys need stability during this transition." "What transition?" Noah asked suspiciously. Eleanor smiled at her grandson. "The transition to having both your parents acknowledged properly." She outlined a plan. Jasmine would move out of the staff quarters into a proper bedroom. She would no longer wear a uniform or perform household duties. Most importantly, the twins could openly call her Mom. "Really?" Ethan's eyes widened. "We can call you Mom in front of everyone?" Jasmine nodded, tears forming. "Yes, if that's what you want." "What about our house?" Maxwell asked his mother. "This place has too many memories now." "I've already looked into that," Eleanor said. "There's a beautiful property available in Greenwich, Connecticut, still close to the city but a fresh start for everyone." Richard Anderson initially opposed these changes. He arrived at the East Hampton house the next day, demanding to speak with his son alone. "This is a mistake," Richard argued in Maxwell's study. "You're rewarding the boys for public disobedience. You're letting that woman gain control after she violated your privacy." "That woman is my children's mother," Maxwell replied firmly. "And they didn't violate my privacy. They exposed my lie." Richard shook his head. "The Anderson name means something in this country. For 5 generations, we've maintained our position through careful decisions and appropriate marriages. And look what it's cost us," Maxwell gestured around him. "My marriage is over. My sons were so desperate to acknowledge their mother that they humiliated themselves and me in front of 200 people. Was protecting our precious name worth that?" Slowly, Richard's rigid stance softened. "I suppose I never considered the human cost of our family traditions." The following week, Jasmine struggled to adjust to her new role. At breakfast, she automatically began serving everyone before catching herself. "Sorry," she said, putting down the coffee pot. "Old habits." "You sit," Maxwell told her. "I'll get the coffee." The twins watched in amazement as their father poured coffee for Jasmine. Small changes like this occurred daily as everyone adjusted to their new reality. When it came time for parent-teacher conferences at the twins' private school, both Maxwell and Jasmine attended together. They sat side by side in the small chairs across from Mrs. Bennett. "I'm a bit confused," the teacher admitted. "I understood Mrs. Anderson was the boy's mother." "There's been a change in our family structure," Maxwell explained. "Jasmine Williams is the boy's biological mother and now has equal parental rights." Mrs. Bennett looked between them. "I see." "Well, the boys have seemed much happier this week. Their behavior has improved dramatically. The truth has freed them from a burden they shouldn't have had to carry," Jasmine said quietly. Jason Miller remained a steady support for Maxwell during this transition. They met for lunch in the city, away from reporters and curious onlookers. "How's it going?" Jason asked. Maxwell sighed. "Awkward. Uncomfortable. Necessary. The boys still barely speak to me. They're angry I lied for so long. Give them time," Jason advised. "Kids are resilient. They got what they wanted, their mom back." "I don't know how to co-parent with someone who was my employee for 7 years, Maxwell admitted. "The power dynamic was so unbalanced for so long." "Then balance it now," Jason said simply. "Treat her like an equal because she is one." The house in Greenwich was perfect, large enough for everyone to have their space but less ostentatious than the Hampton estate. It had 5 bedrooms, a spacious yard, and a fresh start away from the memories of lies and pretense. When Maxwell brought Jasmine to see it, she stood in the entrance hall in silence. "What do you think?" he asked. "It's beautiful," she replied. "But am I really moving in?" "As what, exactly?" "As the twins' mother," Maxwell said. "We'll each have our own bedroom wing. Shared custody, shared residence. It's what the boys need right now, both parents under one roof while they adjust." The news of their planned living arrangement raised eyebrows among their social circle, but Maxwell no longer cared about appearances. The day before moving, Jasmine packed her belongings. She folded her blue uniforms neatly into a donation box. As she placed the last one inside, the twins appeared in her doorway. "Are you ready to move tomorrow, Mom?" Noah asked. Jasmine froze. Though the legal papers were signed and the new arrangements explained, hearing Noah call her Mom out loud for the first time in 7 years brought tears to her eyes. "Yes," she managed to say. "I'm ready." "Now that everyone knows the truth," Ethan asked tentatively, "can we finally call you Mom all the time, in front of everybody?" Jasmine knelt down and opened her arms. The twins rushed into her embrace. "Yes," she whispered, "you can call me Mom." Moving day arrived on a sunny Tuesday morning. 3 moving trucks pulled up to the Greenwich, Connecticut property while the twins ran excitedly from room to room in the empty house. "Mom! Dad says I can paint my room blue!" Noah shouted, still testing the word Mom in public, his face breaking into a smile each time he said it. Jasmine stood in the entryway wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her first day without a uniform in 7 years. She felt strangely exposed without the familiar blue fabric. "That sounds nice," she called back, her voice uncertain in this new role. Maxwell directed movers carrying a sofa into the living room. "The boys' beds should go upstairs first," he instructed. "They'll need naps after all this excitement." He passed Jasmine in the hallway, both of them awkwardly trying to navigate their new relationship, no longer employer and employee, not romantic partners, but co-parents sharing a home. "Are you okay?" Maxwell asked, noticing her discomfort. "Just adjusting," Jasmine replied. "I keep expecting someone to ask why I'm not in uniform." The twins bounded down the stairs, Ethan sliding down the last few steps on the railing despite being told repeatedly not to do so. "Mom! Dad! Come see our rooms!" Ethan called out. Jasmine froze momentarily, tears filling her eyes at hearing both Mom and Dad in the same sentence, something she'd never expected to hear from her children's lips in public. "What's wrong?" Noah asked, noticing her tears. "Nothing's wrong," Jasmine said, kneeling to their level. "I'm just very happy to hear you call me Mom." "That's your name," Ethan said simply. "You're our mom." By afternoon, Neighbors began stopping by with welcome baskets and curious expressions. The Anderson scandal had made national news, and everyone wanted to see the unconventional family arrangement for themselves. "Welcome to Riverside Drive," said a woman in her 50s who introduced herself as Barbara Wilson. "We're just across the street. My husband and I have lived here for 20 years. "Thank you," Maxwell said, accepting her basket of muffins. "I'm Maxwell, and this is Jasmine." "And these are our sons, Ethan and Noah," Jasmine added, still feeling strange about claiming maternal rights openly. Barbara's eyes moved between them, clearly trying to piece together their story. "Well, if you need anything at all, we're right there in the white colonial, the blue door." After she left, Maxwell laughed. "She'll be on the phone within 5 minutes telling everyone the scandalous Andersons have moved in." "Does it bother you?" Jasmine asked. "What people think?" Maxwell considered this. "A month ago it would have. Now I'm more concerned with what those two think." He nodded toward the twins, who were arranging their toys in the playroom. The next day, Eleanor arrived carrying several large leather-bound albums. "A housewarming gift," she told Jasmine, placing them on the kitchen table. Jasmine opened the first album and gasped. Inside were photos she'd never seen. Herself pregnant at a family dinner, looking uncomfortable beside Maxwell. The hospital where the twins were born, her holding the newborns. "You kept these?" she asked, running her fingers over a photo of herself feeding the twins as infants. "Richard wanted them destroyed," Eleanor admitted. "I couldn't do it. Those are my grandchildren's earliest memories with their mother. I kept them hidden in my private study." Jasmine turned the pages, finding images that filled gaps in her motherhood experience. "Thank you," she whispered. "I can't change what happened," Eleanor said quietly, "but I can help make things right now." That afternoon, a messenger delivered an envelope for Maxwell. Inside was Victoria's annulment paperwork, officially ending their brief marriage. Also included was a handwritten note. "Maxwell, I hope you and the twins find happiness in your new arrangement. The boys deserve to know their real mother, and Jasmine deserves recognition for her role in their lives. Please don't contact me again." Victoria Maxwell showed the note to Jasmine. "She's more generous than I deserve," he admitted. "She was caught in our situation through no fault of her own," Jasmine agreed. "I hope she finds happiness." The following Monday, Maxwell and Jasmine took the twins to their new school together. At the office, they filled out registration forms listing both parents with equal authority. "Both parents at the same address but not married?" the school secretary confirmed, trying to hide her curiosity. "Yes," Maxwell replied firmly. "We're co-parents." The twins' teacher, Mrs. Taylor, welcomed them warmly. "I've prepared name tags for their desks. How do you prefer to be addressed?" she asked Jasmine. "Miss Williams is fine." Jasmine started automatically, then corrected herself. "Actually, they call me Mom." "Mom it is, then," Mrs. Taylor smiled. 2 weeks later, their new family dynamic faced its first real test. During recess, Ethan fell from the monkey bars and broke his arm. The school called both parents. Maxwell arrived first at Greenwich Hospital, finding Ethan in the emergency room looking pale but brave. "Dad?" Ethan called when he saw him. "They say I need an operation. They have to put metal in my arm. Let's wait for the doctor to explain everything," Maxwell said, trying to stay calm. Jasmine rushed in minutes later, immediately going to Ethan's side. "I'm here, sweetie." What happened? The orthopedic doctor arrived and explained that Ethan needed pins to properly set the broken bone. "We'll need consent forms signed by both parents," he said. In the past, Maxwell would have made this decision alone. Now, he turned to Jasmine. "What do you think? Should we get a second opinion?" Jasmine appreciated being consulted. "Let's ask about alternatives, but if this is the best option for proper healing, I think we should proceed." They made the decision together, both signing the consent forms. Maxwell handled the insurance details while Jasmine stayed with Ethan during pre-op preparations. When it was time for Ethan to go into surgery, they both walked alongside his gurney until they had to stop. "Mom and Dad will be right here when you wake up," Jasmine promised. After the surgery, with Ethan sleeping peacefully in his hospital room, Maxwell brought Jasmine a cup of coffee. "You know," he said quietly, "I think that's the first major decision we've ever made together as parents." "The first of many," Jasmine replied. A week later, Richard Anderson finally visited the Connecticut house. He arrived stiffly formal, bearing expensive gifts for the twins but clearly uncomfortable with the new arrangement. "Father, come in," Maxwell greeted him. "The boys are excited to see you." Richard's eyes widened slightly when Jasmine walked into the room wearing casual clothes, clearly not in a staff role. "Hello, Richard," she said confidently. "Jasmine?" He nodded, then turned his attention to the twins. "How's that arm healing, Ethan?" "Great. Mom and Dad both signed my cast. Want to sign it too?" Ethan held out his plastered arm covered in colorful signatures. Richard's discomfort was visible, but he made an effort. By dinner, he had relaxed somewhat, even asking Jasmine about her plans for the future. "I'm considering taking some business courses at the community college," she told him. "I've always been interested in education technology." Richard seemed surprised. "Education technology? That's actually a growing field." "She's very smart," Maxwell said. "Always has been." After Richard left, Maxwell received good news from his company. Several investors who had pulled out were returning, impressed by his handling of the situation. "Your honesty about the past mistake and efforts to make amends have actually improved your image with younger investors," his business partner reported. "They're calling it growth and accountability." Maxwell shared this news with Jasmine as they sat on the patio after the twins were in bed. "I'm shifting our company focus toward family-friendly technology," he told her. "Educational apps, safety programs for kids online. Something good should come from all this." "That sounds wonderful," Jasmine said. She hesitated before adding, "I registered for classes today. 2 evenings a week." "That's great. We can adjust our schedules. I'll be with the boys those nights." As weeks passed, the twins flourished in their new environment. Their teacher reported improved behavior and academic performance. "Noah's writing has improved dramatically," Mrs. Taylor told them during a parent-teacher conference. "And Ethan's focus in math is much better. They seem more relaxed, more themselves." At home, they established new traditions, including Sunday pancake breakfasts where Jasmine taught the twins her secret recipe. Maxwell joined them, sometimes burning the edges but trying his best. The family also celebrated what the twins called Truth Day, the anniversary of the charity gala revelation. They marked it with a special dinner where they all shared something honest about their feelings. "I was scared you would hate me for lying," Maxwell admitted during their first Truth Day dinner. "I was scared I would never get to be called Mom again," Jasmine shared. "I was scared our family would never be fixed," Noah added. As they settled into their new reality, a certified letter arrived one morning addressed to both Maxwell and Jasmine. The return address showed Catherine Hammond's attorney in Manhattan. What could Victoria's mother possibly want now? Maxwell wondered, opening the envelope. He read the contents, his face growing serious. "She's threatening legal action for public defamation of the Hammond family name and reputation caused by the scandal." Jasmine took the letter, reading it carefully. "She wants a meeting next week to discuss settlement terms." Just when things were starting to feel normal, Maxwell sighed. The twins entered the kitchen, immediately sensing the tension. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked. Maxwell and Jasmine exchanged a look, silently debating how much to share with their sons. "Nothing serious," Maxwell assured the twins, folding the letter. "Just some grown-up business." "Is it about the gala?" Noah asked perceptively, "when we showed everyone the pictures?" Jasmine and Maxwell exchanged another look. They had promised their sons more honesty. "Yes," Jasmine admitted. "Victoria's mother is upset about what happened. She wants to talk to us about it." "Are we in trouble?" Ethan asked, his voice small. Maxwell shook his head. "No, you're not in trouble. This is something for your mom and me to handle." After breakfast, when the twins left for school, Maxwell and Jasmine sat at the kitchen table to discuss the letter. "We should meet with them together," Jasmine said firmly. "Show a united front." "Agreed," Maxwell nodded. "But I'm worried about what Catherine wants. The Hammonds are powerful in New York society." "So are the Andersons," Jasmine pointed out. "And this time, I won't be facing them alone." The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday at Catherine Hammond's attorney's office in Manhattan. Maxwell and Jasmine arrived together, both dressed formally. Catherine Hammond sat across from them, elegant as always in her designer suit. Her attorney, a stern-looking man named Harold Winters, sat beside her. "Thank you for coming," Harold began. "Mrs. Hammond has concerns about the damage to the Hammond family reputation following the incident at your charity gala. What exactly are you looking for?" Maxwell asked directly. Catherine spoke up. "Damage control. The Hammond name has been dragged through gossip columns for weeks. Victoria has managed to maintain her dignity, but our family has suffered." "And you think we should do what exactly?" Jasmine asked. "A joint interview," Catherine replied, "with a respected journalist. Controlled narrative, pre-approved questions. We present this as an unfortunate misunderstanding rather than deliberate deception." Maxwell frowned. "That would require lying again. I've done enough of that." "Not lying," Harold clarified. "Careful messaging. Mrs. Hammond isn't seeking financial compensation, just cooperation in managing the public narrative." After the meeting, Maxwell and Jasmine walked through Central Park, discussing their options. "Do we really want to expose our family to more public attention?" Jasmine wondered. "That's my concern too," Maxwell admitted. "But if we don't participate, Catherine might file that lawsuit, which would mean even more publicity, none of it controlled." "Whatever we decide together," Jasmine said. "I spent 7 years having no say in my own story. That ends now." Maxwell stopped walking and turned to her. "Absolutely. I won't make any decision about this without your full agreement." Meanwhile, the twins had started seeing Dr. Laura Chen, a child therapist who specialized in family transitions. During their session that week, both boys expressed guilt about the chaos they'd caused. "I didn't know Dad would get in trouble with his business," Ethan admitted, fidgeting with a stress ball in Dr. Chen's colorful office. "And Victoria left because of us," Noah added sadly. Dr. Chen listened carefully. "You revealed a truth that many adults were hiding. Sometimes truth causes short-term pain but prevents deeper damage. Think about keeping a secret for your entire lives. How would that feel?" "Bad," Ethan said. "We were always scared of saying the wrong thing." "Exactly, Doctor." Chen nodded. "Now you can be yourselves without that fear. That's important for your well-being." At home later that evening, Maxwell received an unexpected call from his father. "I'd like to come by tomorrow," Richard said. "There's something I need to discuss with you." The next day, Richard arrived looking unusually serious. He asked Maxwell to walk with him in the backyard, away from the house. "I've been doing some thinking," Richard began, "about our family history." Maxwell waited, curious about this rare moment of reflection from his father. "The Andersons have a pattern," Richard continued. "For generations, we've valued appearances over authenticity. My father did it. I did it to you, and you nearly destroyed your family doing it to those boys." "I know," Maxwell acknowledged. "I'm trying to break that pattern now." Richard nodded. "I pushed you to marry within our social circle. I celebrated when you took custody of the twins without their mother. I thought I was protecting our legacy. But I was wrong, son." This admission from his always certain father stunned Maxwell. "What changed your mind?" he asked. "Seeing those boys flourish now that they can openly love their mother," Richard replied. and realizing how much happiness our family has sacrificed on the altar of appearances. That weekend, Eleanor organized a small dinner at the Greenwich House. To Jasmine's surprise, several of Eleanor's society friends were invited. "I want to properly introduce you," Eleanor explained. "Not as staff, but as the twins' mother and part of this family." During the dinner, one of Eleanor's friends made a snide comment about the unusual living arrangement. "Margaret," Eleanor said firmly, "Jasmine is the mother of my grandsons. She has shown more grace under pressure than most of us would. I expect you to treat her with respect." Jasmine had never expected to find an ally in Eleanor Anderson. Meanwhile, Jasmine was establishing her identity beyond motherhood. Twice a week she attended business classes at the local community college. Her first marketing assignment received top marks. "I never had the chance to finish my degree," she told Maxwell while showing him her graded paper. "This feels like reclaiming part of myself." "You're remarkable," Maxwell said sincerely. "After everything that happened, you could have been bitter. Instead, you're rebuilding." A major milestone came when the family attended the school's spring festival together. Other parents who had previously whispered about the scandal family watched as Maxwell and Jasmine worked the face-painting booth together, functioning seamlessly as co-parents. Mrs. Taylor approached them during a break. "The twins are like different children now. So much happier, more engaged in class. Whatever you're doing at home, it's working." The relative peace was interrupted when Victoria's engagement made headlines in the society pages. Victoria Hammond to wed European tech mogul Pierre Dupont. The news brought renewed media attention to the Anderson story as publications revisited the scandal while covering Victoria's new relationship. Jason Miller visited the following weekend, bringing his usual perspective. "The media cycle is starting again with Victoria's engagement news," he pointed out. "Maybe Catherine Hammond has a point about controlling the narrative." "What would you suggest?" Maxwell asked. "One carefully managed interview with someone respected," Jason said. "Tell your story on your terms, then refuse all other media requests. It gives you control." "But what would we say?" Jasmine asked. "The truth makes Maxwell look terrible." "The truth also shows he's trying to make amends," Jason countered. "People respect growth and honesty." After considerable discussion, Maxwell and Jasmine agreed to consider a single interview. They sat down with the twins to explain the possibility. "Would we be in it too?" Noah asked. "No," Maxwell said firmly. "You would not appear on camera or be interviewed, but people might talk about it at school afterward." "Would they ask about why Mom was the maid?" Ethan wondered. "Possibly," Jasmine admitted. "We would tell the truth, that Dad and I made mistakes, but we're fixing them now." The twins looked at each other, having one of their silent twin conversations. "We think you should do it," Noah finally said. "Then maybe people will stop asking us questions all the time." Maxwell contacted Catherine Hammond to discuss the possibility of a joint narrative. To his surprise, she agreed to their conditions. One interview focused on healing and moving forward rather than blaming. They selected a well-respected journalist from NBC, Rebecca Garcia, known for her thoughtful profiles of public figures. The interview would be conducted in their home, with pre-approved topics. The day before the interview, Jasmine found the twins in their room looking worried. "What's wrong?" she asked. "What if they make you go back to being the maid?" Noah asked. Jasmine sat on the edge of his bed. "That will never happen. We have legal papers now. I'm your mom forever, officially." "Promise?" Ethan pressed. "I promise," Jasmine said, hugging them both. The morning of the interview arrived. A small crew set up cameras in the living room. Maxwell wore a simple button-down shirt, Jasmine a blue dress, purposely different from her former uniform color. As lights and cameras were positioned around their living room, Ethan whispered, "Are we sure we want everyone knowing our business again?" Maxwell and Jasmine exchanged a look that questioned whether this interview was truly the right path forward. The lights felt hot, the cameras intrusive in their newly peaceful home. "We can still cancel," Maxwell said quietly to Jasmine. "Say someone's sick." Jasmine considered this for a moment, then shook her head. "No, let's tell our story once correctly, and then move on with our lives." The producer signaled they would begin in 5 minutes. Maxwell reached over and squeezed Jasmine's hand briefly, a gesture of solidarity before they opened their private lives to public view one final time. "We're rolling in 3, 2, 1. The producer pointed at Rebecca Garcia, who smiled warmly at Maxwell and Jasmine. "Today I'm speaking with Maxwell Anderson and Jasmine Williams about their unconventional journey to co-parenting," Rebecca began. "Thank you both for inviting us into your home." The interview lasted 2 hours. Maxwell spoke honestly about his past mistakes. Jasmine described her years of silent suffering. Together, they explained how they were building a new family foundation based on truth. "What would you say to people who judge your current living arrangement?" Rebecca asked. "Our sons deserve to have both parents in their lives," Maxwell answered. "Sometimes the path to doing the right thing is messy." "And to those who think you should be angrier at Maxwell?" Rebecca asked Jasmine. "Anger wouldn't serve our children," Jasmine replied. "Moving forward does." When the cameras stopped rolling, Rebecca shook their hands. "Thank you for your honesty. This is a powerful story of redemption and putting children first." After the crew packed up and left, the family sat together in the suddenly quiet living room. "Is it really over now?" Noah asked. "Yes," Maxwell assured him. "One interview, as promised. Now we can focus on being a family without cameras watching." 6 months later, balloons and streamers decorated the backyard of their Greenwich home. The twins were turning 8 years old, and this was their first birthday celebration without secrets. "Mom, Dad, can we open presents now?" Ethan called, running across the lawn where several of their school friends played. Jasmine carried a large cake toward the picnic table. "After cake," she reminded him. This was the first party where Jasmine was openly acknowledged as the twins' mother. Several parents from their school attended, along with Eleanor and Richard Anderson and Jason Miller. "Amazing difference from last year," Jason commented to Maxwell as they watched the children play. "Remember their 7th birthday? Jasmine serving food while Victoria tried to play mom?" Maxwell nodded. "Every day I'm grateful they forced the truth out." Across the yard, Jasmine chatted with 2 mothers from the twins' class. She wore a graduation pin on her blouse. She had completed her first semester of business courses with perfect grades. "I've just launched my educational consulting company," she explained to the interested parents. "I help schools integrate technology in ways that actually improve learning." She already has 3 clients, Maxwell added proudly as he joined the conversation. 2 private schools in Connecticut and 1 public school district in Rhode Island. Eleanor approached with a camera. "Family photo time. Grandma privileges." The twins groaned but gathered with Maxwell and Jasmine, all 4 smiling naturally. This was no posed portrait for appearance's sake. It was a genuine moment of family happiness. That evening, after the guests had left, Richard helped Maxwell clean the backyard. "You seem happy, son," Richard observed. "I am," Maxwell confirmed. "Not in the way I expected to be, but genuinely happy." "Your mother and I were wrong," Richard admitted. "About Jasmine, about what makes a proper family. I'm glad you found a better way than we taught you." Inside, Eleanor was helping Jasmine organize the twins' birthday gifts. "Your educational company is gaining attention," Eleanor remarked. "The Westfield Academy board mentioned your name at our last meeting." "Really?" Jasmine looked surprised. "Don't look so shocked," Eleanor smiled. "You've always been intelligent. Now you're just being recognized for it." A significant milestone arrived 3 weeks later when the family received an invitation to a major charity event at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Manhattan, their first return to high society as their authentic family unit. "Are we going?" Jasmine asked Maxwell, holding the gold-embossed invitation. "Do you want to?" Maxwell asked in return. "It will be many of the same people who were at our wedding and the gala where everything changed." "I think we should," Jasmine decided. "Not hiding anymore, remember?" The night of the event, Jasmine wore an elegant emerald dress, nothing like her former uniform. Maxwell looked handsome in his tuxedo. Most importantly, they entered together, as equals. "Maxwell." "Jasmine." The museum director greeted them. "Wonderful to see you both. Your interview was quite moving." Throughout the evening, some people avoided them. Others approached with genuine interest in their family's journey. Maxwell's business connections seemed particularly impressed with his new focus on family-friendly technology. "Your parental control app is exactly what the market needs," one investor told him. "Personal experience creating the best solutions. That's authentic." Halfway through the evening, Jasmine touched Maxwell's arm. "Victoria just arrived," she said quietly. Across the room, Victoria Hammond entered on the arm of a tall, distinguished man with a European air. She looked radiant and genuinely happy. "Should we say hello or avoid her?" Maxwell asked. "We should acknowledge her," Jasmine decided. "Taking the high road, remember?" They approached Victoria and her fiancé with polite smiles. "Victoria, you look wonderful," Maxwell said sincerely. "Congratulations on your engagement." Victoria's expression was guarded but civil. "Thank you. This is Pierre Dupont. Pierre, this is Maxwell Anderson and Jasmine Williams." "The famous family," Pierre said with a slight French accent. "Victoria has told me your story. Very American, very dramatic." "How are the boys?" Victoria asked Jasmine directly. "They're doing very well," Jasmine replied. "They ask about you sometimes." "Tell them I'm happy," Victoria said, "and that I hope they're happy too." The interaction was brief but cordial, all adults behaving with dignity despite their complicated history. Later that evening, a woman Jasmine didn't recognize approached them at the bar. "You're the Anderson family, right? I've been hoping to meet you." She introduced herself as Lisa Thompson, a board member for an educational foundation. "Your story fascinated me. How did you two meet originally?" In the past, Maxwell might have created a sanitized version of their history. Instead, he looked at Jasmine and smiled. "We met at a tech conference in Boston 8 years ago," he began honestly. "I was presenting, and Jasmine was working there while putting herself through college. We had the twins, separated, and then found our way back to a different kind of family," Jasmine continued. "Not the typical path, but it works for us now." Lisa seemed impressed by their candor. Honesty is refreshing in these circles. Most people hide their messy parts. "We tried that," Maxwell said. "It didn't work out well." 2 weeks later, on a quiet Sunday evening, Jasmine found the twins in their playroom surrounded by photos. They had taken out the albums Eleanor had given them and were carefully adding new pictures to the collection. "What are you doing?" Jasmine asked, sitting beside them. "Making our real family album," Noah explained, "with everything in it." Jasmine looked more closely. The boys had arranged photos chronologically, starting with her pregnancy pictures through their birth and early years. But they had also included photos from the time she was their maid, pictures of her in uniform helping with homework or serving at parties. "You're including those too?" Jasmine asked softly, pointing to a photo where she stood in the background during the twins' 6th birthday. "There still are memories with you," Ethan said simply. "Just sad ones." "And now we have happy ones too," Noah added, placing a recent photo of all 4 of them at the zoo next to an older one. Maxwell found them there, sitting on the floor surrounded by their history and pictures. He joined them, picking up a photo of himself holding the newborn twins while a younger Jasmine looked on. "I was so worried about appearances back then," Maxwell said, "about what people would think of my relationship with your mom, about my image as a single father. I missed what really mattered." "Which was what?" Noah asked. Being honest, Maxwell replied, creating a family based on truth instead of pretending. Later that night, after the twins were asleep, Maxwell and Jasmine sat on the back porch. The spring air was cool but pleasant. The boys added the Maid photos to the family album. Jasmine told him, "They said they want the whole story, not just the good parts." Maxwell nodded, wiser than we were. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if they hadn't revealed everything at the gala?" Jasmine asked. "Sometimes," Maxwell admitted. "Victoria and I would probably still be married. You'd still be wearing that blue uniform. The boys would still be whispering secrets and feeling torn between two worlds. And now?" Maxwell looked toward the house where their son slept. "Now we have something real. Not perfect, not what society expected, but honest." "I still can't believe we live in the same house," Jasmine smiled. "Co-parents, but not a couple. People still don't know what to make of us." "They don't have to understand it," Maxwell said. "It works for us, for the boys." As summer approached, the twins' school year ended with remarkable results. Both boys received achievement awards, Noah for writing, Ethan for mathematics. Their teacher noted their extraordinary progress following the family changes. Jason Miller remained a constant friend, joining them for Sunday dinners and teaching the twins to play baseball in the backyard. "You know," Jason told Maxwell during one such afternoon, "I never thought I'd say this, but that public scandal was the best thing that ever happened to you." Maxwell watched as Jasmine helped Noah with his batting stance. "You're right. Sometimes the most painful moments lead to the most necessary changes." Eleanor and Richard visited regularly for family dinners. Richard, once so formal and distant, now got down on the floor to play board games with his grandsons. On a warm evening in June, the family gathered on their patio. The twins played nearby while Maxwell and Jasmine discussed summer plans. "Remember when I could only talk to them when you weren't around?" Jasmine asked. "When I had to pretend I wasn't their mother?" "I remember," Maxwell said quietly. "I'm sorry for those years, Jasmine. Truly sorry." "I know," she replied. "But look what we built from the wreckage." She gestured toward the twins who were laughing as they kicked a soccer ball across the lawn. No longer burdened by secrets, they had blossomed into confident, happy 8-year-olds. "Mom! Dad! Watch this!" Ethan called, attempting to balance the ball on his head. Maxwell and Jasmine watched together, no longer employer and employee, not a conventional family by any means, but something perhaps more valuable, a family built on hard-won truth, where everyone could finally be exactly who they were. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.